This is Made to Build by the HIA, the podcast that gets into the real stuff that matters in residential building. I'm going to be talking to Ryan about moving from surviving to thriving.
I'd probably suggest that, I know I often say designing your business to sell or growing your business as if you were to sell, and you've probably heard this before yourself.
The model that a lot of builders feel is in place, which is really, you're my competitor, I won't talk to you about this at all. What's a different perspective that builders could take on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm a huge advocate, more so today than ever before, just on the leadership of the industry, and I'm kind of out there flying the flag of just doing things differently.
Is this how you've structured your own business?
Probably yes.
Owen, great to see you again, mate.
Richard, how are you?
Good, buddy.
Can you tell us a bit about the guy we have on here today?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ryan Goodwin from Mode Group, okay, an award-winning builder from Melbourne, a multi-million-dollar construction company. His focus is very much around working smarter, not harder. And as most builders listening to this will know, it's very easy in the building business to survive rather than to thrive. So we're going to be talking to Ryan about moving from surviving to thriving. And so, Ryan, welcome.
Thank you. Flattered with that introduction. Thanks very much, guys.
Run with it. Enjoy it.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here and really to be a part of the industry. I think it's a great thing you guys are doing, and I'm all about championing the industry from a time and a season we're going through. It has been a bit tricky for many. So, you talk about thriving, and it's really about these days doing things smarter, not harder.
And just as a quick background, can you just give us a bit of an outline of your story up to now and
yeah, sure. It's I'm not your average builder, as I'm known to say, and have a bit of a diverse experience, but started out like many of us as a carpenter by trade, finished high school with an apprenticeship, went into being a carpenter for a number of years. I've been in business since I was about 14, the traditional lawn mowing business.
Paperboy.
All of the things, all the things,
Yep.
So today I'm kind of known as a serial entrepreneur, but I did start in construction. I had other businesses as well, but I was able to retire one of my first bosses, or my second boss, in fact, just after becoming qualified. Went on to grow a business with a business coach, sell it, do many things.
And was that in construction or that was
outside?
outside?
It was a small renovation business. I would have been, I'm going to risk it here and say about 20, 22. So a bit of a big thing to do as a young guy.
Yep. What was your role in that?
So I was just a sole trader, but I had a contractor full time, and we were just doing small renovations. But at that time, and maybe a theme that you might hear from me around sourcing mentors or coaches, I had a well-paid business coach back when I was that age. Yep. My first experience around that. And so we worked for a year or two on kind of getting me out of the business, learning the skills, setting systems. And that set me up for success later, but that allowed me to put people into the business. And then I actually sold it and went off traveling Europe like many young guys do. The end of that little bit of the story is when I decided to come back a year or two later, that same business coach hired me in his group of construction companies. And the next 3 to 4 years was, I kind of say, my second or third apprenticeship, and I can elaborate, but was my next apprenticeship in learning how to be a leader within construction, run and manage businesses and people, grow brands and that sort of thing.
Yep.
So it wasn't as construction based, it was more behind the scenes.
So I would still say construction based, but I went from being a hands on the tools guy. I've been off the tools for 25 years now. And that opportunity did take me off the tools into leading teams. And I won't go into all the detail, but a small brand in decks, verandas and pergolas and outdoor living, to a renovation kitchen and bathroom brand that he had, like $1 million showroom, to it's quite a well-known franchise group that he owned a majority stake in, to me becoming a general manager, construction manager a few years later. So at a reasonably young age for industry. But I say that was my third apprenticeship, and just quickly, my second in the middle there was business. And that might be a theme again we come back to. My first was carpentry and building, like we've all seen. Second was a fast learning curve on learning how to run business, grow business and manage people. Third, I became mentored, I guess you would say, within a construction group by a really great mentor and someone I looked up to.
So you've had a really broad base to work from from the time you started to up to this point in time. For builders who are listening to this, in your opinion, what are 3 things that builders really, really need to know and they need to do well in order to be successful in their business?
Only three things?
Only three things. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Look, I think it can sometimes be dependent upon the phase of their business, like where they are in their growth. You know, you're starting out, are you established trying to hire your third and fourth team member or break that $3 to $5 million bracket, or are you trying to get out of your business a little bit more, you know, pick up the kids from school, that sort of thing. So I definitely think it can be different in their journey. Assuming a lot more of our members and listeners might be in that early to mid range and stage, looking for inspiration and some support. Look, I think it's as high level as, you know, managing and focusing on branding, marketing and leads. So making sure the phone rings, but even before that, making sure your brand stands for something, the culture of your brand means something, that you recognise that, you know, when someone looks or seeks you out, that they associate that with something. It could be quality or price or experience, something like that, I think would be really big. I'd probably suggest that, I know I often say designing your business to sell or growing your business as if you were to sell, and you've probably heard this before yourself, but being really conscious and considerate around what decisions you make, and it could be around how you build your team, what systems you implement, you know, what you invest in, how much money you spend on that shiny ute or whatever it might be, because you want to be able to kind of build something that is sellable. And even if you have a career path or vision for a long term in the business, you want to make sure you're making those decisions that mean you are perhaps running lean, or perhaps making decisions that will be sustainable or be attractive to other people to either work with you or invest or buy. And lastly, I'd always be focusing on quality, so the deliverables on the other end. So that could be systems and operations, or it could just be about that product that you're known for, you know, really standing by quality. I believe still being passionate in what you do makes it sustainable. And if it's something you love and you really care about, that should flow on through how you manage your team, the leadership you display, the standards you keep. So I've actually answered really broadly. It's probably not.
No, but you've listed a lot of good points.
Hopefully that's answered, but I feel like I've cheated because there's a lot of answers in that.
This goes. This complements
all really important though to me.
It complements something I was going to ask you. Is this how you've structured your own business, and all these key values that you've listed to us there? Is that what has carried you to where you are today?
Yeah, it's a great question. And look, probably yes. I'm probably just, you know, the unconscious mind's just delivering what I value or have learned. And I would say yes. And today I'm in a much better shape, or our businesses are, than they would have been. But they're probably things I've learned, whether it be the easy way, the hard way, or through the many mentors that I've had in business and in construction along the way. So the short answer is yes. But if I was to peel back the curtains, there's probably stories to each of those as well.
Peel back. Tell us more.
And where do you want to start? So, I mean, if you know, I guess some of our recent success, we relaunched the brand, you know, the first thing that comes to my mind, you know, 7 or 8 years ago, and we had 6 or 7 years on referral only work. And we grew to $10 million in under 5 years in a small business. So I think, you know.
And how far into your company were you then? How many years had you guys been
I'd actually stepped out. What we have in I stepped out of my brand for a number of years, and I had some really large senior roles in big national companies and in construction and home improvement. So maybe I can share that another time. But it meant that I came back with more than just a builder's knowledge and more than just a business coach experience. And so I got to bring all of those cool new learnings and tools and experiences to my business. So I relaunched in that space 7 years ago. And the reason I'm sharing this is because putting that brand and culture first is something that I focused on back then. And to answer your point, that was a really big thing for me, where all of a sudden it stopped being the phone would ring and they'd only want us to talk to Ryan, and they would only sign with Ryan and they would only talk to the builder. You know, we grew our team quite quickly, and all of a sudden the brand was seen, the vehicles were everywhere, everyone's in uniform, we represented something, we've got a beautiful showroom, and all of a sudden people stopped calling to talk to Ryan and they just came in and started asking for my brand and my product.
So you've shifted it from being Ryan from Mode Building to Mode Building.
100%. And it's like birthing a child, not that I have that experience, but the idea of, or that day is probably a wrong analogy to use, right? But it was a really proud day, like the day you become a father, let's put it that way, where, you know, I remember walking out of my showroom or office and I didn't know there were some people in our showroom, and, geez, can I help you? Were you looking for me? And I said, no, we're just here to buy a Mode bathroom or a Mode renovation, whatever they said. And that the penny dropped, and realised that brand actually represented something much bigger than me, meant more about team and culture and what we stood for in the community. And so people were sorting us out because of the brand and what it meant. So to answer your point, in my experience, that brand should always be considered.
Do you think that came from the people that you employed, being architects, interior designers? Do you have estimators? How's that structured?
Look, all of that. So today we have in-house building designers, interior architect, estimators, purchasing officers, a leadership team, and project managers, and then guys on the ground. So we're a team of about 35 today. So we're probably a bit top heavy for the market right now, but at the same token, putting the structure in place. So why do you need a leadership team? I'm not in my business all the time. I enjoy doing other things. And
so your team's entirely self-sufficient?
For the most part. I still remain in a lot of the sales roles. I actually enjoy it. It's my genius space, and love my passion, thank you. And I also am really good at being creative for mums and dads in the backyard who need ideas, or negotiating strategy with people, or what can and can't be done, and always talking people down from the budget they want to spend to the one they actually need, as you know. So I'm actually very good at that, still have passion for it. And so I do stay a bit in the strategic relationships role, but otherwise I've got a management team that do most of it.
So you're more so on the front end of the build, where the client comes to you and engages your company, and you're just kind of sorting out those teething issues and working through it?
Yeah, for a lot of that part right now. In fact, I had a meeting yesterday with my operations manager, and he was politely reminding me that I didn't do too much in the business anymore, and I said, good job. But yeah, so a lot of the front end, I probably do 80% of those sales. I just really enjoy it, and it works into my schedule. It sounds a bit silly, but I'm not always available to the business, and that's deliberate because I do other things. But yeah, I kind of fill up my time then with the things I love. I'm the most valuable to the business by doing that. And then we do have, I don't want to say production line, but we do have the systems in place to then manage it after it comes in as an inquiry, a design inquiry, or a project, or a preliminary agreement, or a contract. They come in and do design work with interior designers and selections and whatever it may be, and then we spit out the product on the other end.
So your model's clearly highly systematic, and your builds speak for themselves.
Thank you. Yeah.
How do you instill quality amongst all the ranks in your team?
It's a great question. One of the biggest fears I've always had is about, and the word dilution, because I believe in the quality I see, and I believe in the vision I set for clients, and I know the strategy that can work. But then when you're not there to be in part of every bit of it and put your thumbprint on each, my concern's always been dilution. So I say this, but it gets delivered like this. And so to your question, it's taken a long time, a lot of trust, relationships. So developing team members, developing leaders, not always easy. And but also I think one of the biggest lessons I'd share with anyone listening would be to, allow others to know how you think, or train others to know how you might think or decide or make decisions. So quality is just one of them. Service is another. The experience of a client is another.
Yeah.
Client touch points, the journey, when they get communicated, how they get communicated, what happens if something happens or goes wrong, as we know it will. So all of those things. So quality is a big part of it, absolutely. But quality doesn't mean much if everything else doesn't go to plan as well.
100%.
So.
Can I just ask you, so you've touched on a couple of things there that I just want to drill into a little bit more. So one being leadership and the other one being training. And whilst it's tempting to throw them together, we won't.
Yeah.
But what are the things that you've done in Mode that, how have you fostered that? How have you fostered leadership within the, not just not just your own leadership, but the way you grow leaders internally, and also the training that you provide to those people? What sort of things have you done?
Look, I would start by saying it's all under the umbrella of culture, I believe. So, the standards are set by the leader in the business, and the culture is what comes around that, the way you speak to one another, the standards you set within your personal and professional space. So, I think that I'm a good guy and set the right standards, both professionally and personally. I offer a lot of respect and a lot of leeway, a lot of rope to my team members that have earned it or require that. So I really think about giving people enough of your insights, enough of your time, and enough of your thinking to get to a point where you need to give them then time, a bit of rope to have those experiences themselves, run with it. You make a decision, I'm here if you need me. Not everything works perfectly, and we're talking over years, of course. There's going to be mistakes, you're going to lose some money, you're going to have to apologise and do something differently, but using the opportunity to allow others to experience that growth in themselves and or take that rope and make those decisions on behalf of your business ultimately lands in a place where I no longer need to make all the decisions, and I no longer need to be a part of all of the processes, because they've done it, they've seen it, and they know if anything ever hits the fan, I'm always there. Yeah. So I think in regards to developing some of those leaders, that's one way. I think always communicating standards and what you expect out of them, maybe a growth path, we need to do this now, but hey, if you can do this, we'll go there and we'll go there. again, it depends on the type of role and the type of person.
Yeah, exactly.
You're talking about
Yeah,
a chippy crew on the ground, or you're talking about a management team, or they're all very different again. But I do think the principles are the same. Make sure you're personable, make sure you understand that person, make sure you're not growling at them for the wrong reasons, and don't bring your crap from home to work. Make sure you have a pathway for them to succeed. Make sure they know what and how to succeed themselves, and reward them, acknowledge them. And, you know, they say if you've got to reprimand or teach them, maybe behind a closed door, but if you're going to celebrate them, do it in front of others, you know, pump some tyres. Yep. And one of the biggest things, and I work with a lot of other builders in the same type of journey, we often don't get out of our own way, and that's one of the biggest challenges, I think. So it's easy for me to say, hey, just do this.
You be the blocker.
We're normally the ones with the mindset going, oh, but it's just quicker if I do it myself. It's probably, no one does it like I do, 100%. But one of the sayings I've heard recently is 80% done by someone else is 100% better than you doing it yourself. Meaning get used to accepting 80% from someone else if that means you're no longer involved.
Yep.
Hopefully I've answered that question.
No, I think you did really well. Do you think it comes down to empowering your team to where they can achieve a level of finish that you want and really giving them the rope to go and do it themselves?
Yeah, when it comes to the physical hands-on quality, you mentioned quality a couple of times there. So the short answer is yes, but of course I'm as much of a control freak about quality as you would be. And when it's my brand and my client, I'm very particular, always have been. Quality is one of our company core values, and it's very big for us, and we're well known for that. So it can sometimes be a little bit harder when you're talking about decision making from a supervisor, for argument's sake, versus the quality of a high-end build that needs to be spotless. Again, the same principles apply, but maybe a different way of managing. So how you check in, how you set those standards, how do you communicate as a leader to a younger person or another leading hand or whoever it might be. How you check, you can't just hand over authority or responsibility and never come back to it. They've got to know you're there to check on the work. The standards are always measured, but also you've got to be there to say, well, look, hey, I might have said this and you've heard it this way. Actually, what I meant was like this. Let's do it together. Can I show you one and you do the rest? So there's kind of all these blended ways of, I think, doing that as well, depending on maybe what the task is.
So do you still do that today?
No. I haven't been on the tools for 25 years. I'm still very capable. But in saying that, it sounds silly like I'm a high-flying CEO that's not around my business. I've been two or three of the job sites this week. I just drop in unannounced. If I can, I take coffees or icy bowls on a hot day, cold day. They tend to, yeah. It's funny, they always tell stories of the supervisor that blows in for 10 minutes, doesn't know what's going on and leaves again.
Is that you?
No, it's not, but I'm tipping they make the same stories about me when I blow through. But look, I actually just try to turn up to be, it might sound a little bit corny, but I just still want to be, part of the team, part of the solutions on the ground. I truly believe in earning and holding respect, and that goes both ways. So if I'm never around and I'm not seen and I'm not the face of our team flying that flag, then how could I ask them to be led by me or trust and have faith in me as well? So, so in regards to that, I'm still around job sites enough. I know what we do. We've also worked really hard over the years about what we call a Bible, but we have created our own systems and process, documented Bible, we call it, our way of doing things. So anything from how we finish tiny details to the heights of niches in a wall to tap, switch set out. So not only for how we do our job well as maybe carpenters and builders, but the standards we set for our sub-trades as well. And it's the same across the board. And the reason being, why would we let other people make those decisions on our behalf? And why then would we not know what to expect on one job to another? So we're not a cookie cutter model. We're always unique custom builds, but we do want a level of consistency, and consistency can bring quality. And so we've managed that as well.
Yeah. So you maintain those fundamental things that you have in every home, those same heights, those same setbacks, whatever it is, you carry that throughout all your builds.
We do, unless it's designed differently, So it's like we detail our interior design plans, our building plan, service plans. So it is still detailed on every single project, unless it's unique to that site or job, and it'll be highlighted and bubbled, and this one we're doing it different because Mrs. Smith wants something different. So, and that isn't because we're a volume builder and we're fast and heavy at it. It's just because we know what works for us, and why do you need to change at every job, and why do I need to let someone down the line make that decision on our behalf? You know, so it's really just about we've done the thinking and we like what we've got, and we just want to know that we've trained our guys to be efficient and optimised around that, knowing that sometimes things will change as well.
I know in the past I've read that you're very keen on developing collaboration or a shared network amongst builders as opposed to the model that a lot of builders feel is in place, which is really, you're my competitor, I won't talk to you about this at all. So, and look, I know that myself. I know that when in the research interviews I've done with builders, they are absolutely fearful of sharing their margins, their pricing. That they do not want to talk about that stuff, and that's, I can understand that dynamic. What's a different perspective that builders could take on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm a huge advocate, more so today than ever before, just on, the leadership of the industry. And I'm kind of out there flying the flag of just doing things differently again now. So I just believe traditionally I don't know why, it's a multi-generational problem. We've all learnt from the old school builders we've learnt from, and, here we are today with next generation guys, and the education hasn't been handed on. I think it's a poor way of thinking, a belief system perhaps, that we've just inherited from the guys who taught us and the guys who taught us and the like. And I don't really stand by that anymore. I do believe, and I'm a huge advocate for the opposite. I believe that we don't have any competition. We could all be builders in the same suburb, and it doesn't mean my brand makes the same as yours or the price points of the team or how we do things. I truly believe that if we're a good match for a client or a potential, then so be it, and we're not competitive. So on the flip side of that we should be coming together as builders. We should be coming together as an industry, unpacking, the challenges and the issues that we all go through, and we're all going through it alone. You have done for your whole career.
It can feel very lonely.
But so did your boss, and so did his boss.
Yeah.
And while I don't want to say that people have been doing it wrong for generations, I've come up in the same as we all have, and I just think there's a smarter way. For what reason and what purpose do we need to be competitive? I think that way, and it's a mindset thing. So I'm a big believer in getting people, guys, builders and trades together to kind of, squash that idea. And I do. I'm quite active in running monthly networking groups in a couple of states and just bringing people together to effectively share and learn and grow. Because I think there's not a lot out there for us to learn by. Maybe this podcast will be one of them. But outside of a few podcasts, there's really no one that's going to peel back the curtains and help people get out of that mindset, that way of thinking, and maybe go, hey, how did you price your job up? What's the difference between markup and margin? What kind of rate should I be paying someone? Hey, have you got a good concreter? Or everyone just thinks we're against each other, or really
silos.
Private.
Yeah,
very much silos. And I just don't believe that. I actually believe the opposite, which is in bringing people together, kind of peeling back or changing that mindset and building that community, because no one else is doing that for us. And together, it sounds really corny, I know, but together we're a lot stronger by sharing that intellect, sharing experiences, and lifting each other up as an industry than it is just to keep copying the bad habits that we've been taught for 3, 4, 5 generations.
Yep.
By doing this, can you give us a few examples of things that you've learned from engaging with other builders?
Yeah, well, look, it's myself personally, it's probably been one of many things that have been a successful addition to, why we've got a semi-automated run business. And I now do other things in other businesses and coach and educate. I run a charity overseas. So they've helped me immensely because of the camaraderie and the community and the shared learning. I think maybe by framing this as well, I believe, and I'm on a big, I believe we're always lifelong students, right? So you always want to be learning, searching for answers, growing yourself, whether it be for oneself, a family or community, whatever. So I'm big on that. I've had coaches and mentors for over 20 years. But aside from me, I think for other people, you may not need to do all those things, but at least be open to, wanting to improve your livelihood, increase your profit, why work so bloody hard? People have already created this wheel. Why are we trying to recreate the wheel so much? Yeah. And especially we're looking at 2025 where, it's low consumer sentiment. It's a tricky market out there. Conversions are harder than ever. Everyone's spending, the people making the most money is Meta and Google, and ad spend's huge. And I'm sure there's some other products that can help builders with that. I guess what I'm saying is that if we just keep doing the same thing, then we're just going to kind of all be a race to the bottom. It's going to be harder, and we're all competing against each other. When we get together and we can learn that, hey, I'm not actually in competition with you, but what could be complementary for us? What can we share? How do you do? And it may just be a way we do things. I'm big on gifting knowledge and experience and information, but it might also be that, maybe you've got a job that's not right for you, but it's right for me. Or maybe you've got a neighbour that you don't do that, but you do. Or I don't know, there's just kind of I believe an endless list of benefits that can come out of it. If nothing else, business is lonely, especially I say, lonely at the top, because when you're the leader of your tribe, it can be really lonely. And often your wife or partner doesn't understand or work in your business, And quite often your mates don't understand either. And that goes for when you see success as well.
Yep.
You know, when you're talking about how much money you're going to make or how much tax you've got to pay, or I've got to hire someone, or start paying payroll tax. And once you grow your business, you'll start taking on those conversations. But you need a place to be safe. You need a place that it's not alien. You need a place that you can unpack that stuff or learn or go, shit, for the first time I'm doing this.
Have a bouncing board.
Can you tell me what it's like for that? So I truly believe in bringing people together to make it no longer a silo.
Okay.
I've got a bit of a double barrel question here for you. When you first started, how many hours were you working on Mode as compared to now?
If you were to, back then, probably the standard.
There's a second part to this too.
Yeah, probably the standard 60-hour week like most people would, I imagine.
And that was in your toughest times, you'd say?
Look, it depends. Mode wasn't my first business in construction, but I've had it for 15 years, so nonetheless, it's an older brand for me. Look, I've been good in business and designed my business for lifestyle, but I'm a grinder as well. I've head down, bum up like anyone should and does. And when you go through those seasons, you earn it by working hard. And I'm a hard worker. So look, I would probably say the biggest weeks, 70, 80 hours, you know, when you'd work all day for a client, you'd go trying to renovate your own home or flip a property or whatever. We've all done it. And I don't regret a second of it. But, you know, consistently I would have been like most, probably doing 60 hours a week, you know, silly hours. You start early, you work late, you probably do a Saturday. You do your own books and all those sorts of things. But it has been a long time since I was doing those hours.
So coming to today, how many hours a week do you spend on Mode now?
Oh, that's a great question. It depends which week we're in. I do a fair bit of travel, but also I speak at some events, as well as I'm part of some business and education programs that's, you know, which I believe in. So I don't work Fridays. I don't necessarily work full days. I would say, I actually haven't thought about it lately. If it was per week, maybe 30 hours.
Okay, so you have a lot of time that you dedicate to other things.
100%, yeah.
Okay.
I'm still a very busy individual. I don't sit by the pool and don't do much.
Don't seem like it.
But I have other interests and other businesses as well.
Yep.
But because of that, and I guess if we loop back to the point before, you know, kind of building your business by design is a bit of a catchphrase of mine, but building your business as if it could be sold, you know, so making all those decisions and frameworks and plugging things, kind of today delivers me an opportunity that I cannot be in it all the time and do other things. But the other things now for me are what I'm passionate about, more passionate about. I love my business, my team, my brand, but I'm also moving towards other things that really fill my cup.
So Richard, the second part to my question, you've halved your hours that you do per week, give or take, in the 15 years you've run it. What would you tell your younger self?
Do it sooner.
Do it sooner?
I guess without sounding too cocky.
But you done it at the start there?
No, not really, but I changed up. I don't really have any regrets in my life or career especially. But one thing I'm grateful, and I'll always advocate, you know, having that $600 an hour business coach at the age of 20 or whatever it was, my mates were like, man, what are you smoking? You're crazy. What does he do for you? And there was no real understanding at that point, but I was making money. I was trying to hire subbies and I was trying to learn contracts and legal obligations and tax. And as a young guy, it was a lot, right? And I'm sure it is today. So I don't regret that I entered into coaching, entered into seeking mentorship, entered into wanting to learn more, be better, you know? And I think that's ultimately been the path I've never got off. I've deviated and I've been able to take my leadership skills to other things, and I actually became a qualified coach years ago myself for that reason, that I just believe in that space and that opportunity to learn.
Ryan, I want to go back to something that you talked about a little bit earlier, and this is something that is hardly ever spoken about by builders, but it's really, really important, okay? You talked about building a business to sell, okay? Now, for those people listening, the way that often a business is valued is really a multiple of its net profit, fundamentally.
Mm-hmm.
In the residential construction sector, typically that multiple is not very high because it's all based around one person. The builder is the business. Yep. So it's often a multiple of only maybe one. So, you know, 1 times net profit equals the value of the business. In your experience, in your perspective, what are ways that builders can grow that multiple for when they want to sell their business in the future? So in other words, if you're a builder and you've got you're making a net profit of, let's say $500,000 a year, if it's a multiple of 1, you can only sell your business for $500,000. But if you can increase the multiple by implementing some touches that I'm sure you'll cover, you can actually, if you can increase that multiple up to 3, it can be 3 times 500, so it's 1.5 million. All of a sudden, it's a much bigger bang for your buck.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are the things that builders should be thinking about now if they're sort of weighing up, you know what, I could actually sell out of this business if I do it right, and I want to start putting plans in place to be able to sell out in 2, 3, 5 years' time. What would the things be that you'd recommend they look at?
Yeah, it's a great question. Definitely, as I said earlier, about starting to think about designing or building your business to sell. And it doesn't mean you need to. Here I am 15 years later, I haven't sold. I have no interest in it right now.
It's a lifestyle. It's a choice.
It's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer on your business is a vehicle to afford you the lifestyle you want, whatever that is, fishing, surfing, picking up your kids from school, playing footy, going to the gym every day or sleeping in, whatever that looks like. So the first thing is to kind of a bit of a mindset shift around that. So what does that mean to you? Do I have to read a book? What would that look like? From there, it's the decisions you make around that principle, I guess. In regards to what can increase EBITDA or that return on sale, typically it's around assets. But the first thing, and I will go back to what you highlighted, the first thing is about making sure one individual, and typically in our businesses as builders traditionally, we're the one-stop shop, wear all the hats. We might not be on the tools anymore, but you're doing the sales, the conversions, the leads, contracts. You might be doing the books, or your wife is. And again, you might be a bit bigger if you're considering, a succession plan, but you might got to make sure that not one person, particularly yourself, but not one person is leveraged too greatly in the business. So, meaning if Richard here was the business owner and he was to leave, so would all the sales, so would all the contacts, because he got 90% of the work out of his community or his street or neighbourhood or whatever it might be. So you've got to make sure that you're not over leveraged with one person or party or supplier. Same thing can go where 80% of your work comes out of one business, one builder, one contractor, one referring partner. Because if that relationship ended, then it weakens the resale price. Secondly, it's about the type of assets you have. So generally they're digital assets these days. So databases, website, has anything been automated, systems especially. And I say automation, it could be marketing campaigns, it could be tools you use, it could be anything proprietary that you might have created. For us, it might be our Bible.
Spot on.
As an example, right? So we've created something. Now, is it better or worse than yours? Doesn't matter, but for us, it means something. I know, at least in my experience, and I think it does talk to others, I've looked at buying a couple of businesses lately, that brand is important as well. Often it's classed as goodwill. So you might buy a business that is only worth the website because it brings in inquiry. But equally, I think at least for our business, if I had nothing else, I know our brand means something in our community. It's been around a long time. It's highly regarded and it's known. I wouldn't say a household name, but people know it. And I'm quite proud about that. So that is worth an item. So those assets are depending on what you have. Again, our businesses don't tend to deal with databases, but it is important. Maybe over 20 years in your business, you've got a database of 4,000 people, whatever it might be. That is actually one of the highest selling assets. As part of that. And what's interesting is, say, 1 times a multiplier, the standard average, I believe, because I work with an exit strategist friend of mine just last week, we were talking about this. She said across, and that's all her business is, just exit strategy and selling business. She was saying across industries, the average is about 2.5. Construction would typically be less because generally you're the guy in the role, and if you go, the business
residential
goes.
construction.
So it is actually, I'm not going to say really hard for construction businesses to be sold, but I would suggest you need a runway and probably 5 years or more, maybe even more, but with those type of principles I've just shared in mind. So what can we create so that in 3 or 5 years when I want to retire or get out or sell or move, it can be someone else doing the role, doing the task, or be a valuable asset. So it's a lot of things, but you need some time to prepare. You're not going to do that overnight.
You cannot do this stuff
probably
on a dime.
At least 5 years.
You've got to really have a plan in place where you deliberately implement a series of things. And, many of the things that you've just spoken about. And something that you actually folded into your business in a very disciplined way.
100%. And I guess lastly, just before moving on, so I guess one of our, or the benefits I get to enjoy at the moment is having a management team. So thinking around those things, not everyone's ready for that or knows how to do that or maybe has a business of that size, but we implemented EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, 3 years ago. So it's a framework of how we have our meetings and how we report and scorecards and figures and finances and so that's how the business runs when I'm not there. And all I look at is a spreadsheet. But also I have a team that runs that system. So again, it depends on your growth and how mature the business is. But thinking about, I might want to get out in 5 years is one thing, growing a database is another, but it actually needs to run without you in a sense.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm not saying you need to hire 4 staff, but maybe just that next one person or your office manager or your admin lady or your wife perhaps, start having those conversations, buy the book, understand a framework and say, hey, maybe we could start doing parts of this. And over 5 years, you can maybe implement a bit more. Again, you'll have all different kind of listeners to this, so not everyone's ready for that. But you can start small. You can start in your business with 2 or 3 people and have an imprint or an impact, I should say, in the years ahead.
You mentioned a few times online systems. Where do you see that going in the future of the building industry?
Well, look, I guess at the moment, a lot of it's around software, I think, and the tools that are available. So whether it be in the front end, so you've got landing pages and marketing tools and CRMs that nurture and automated emails, and you've got conversion tools and estimating software, and you've got project management software and task management, and then you've got automated emails and referral. So I think in regards to software, there is a lot. I think in regards to technology, obviously AI is a big thing at the moment, and what that'll do, I think, will probably influence, things around a lot of what I've just shared, really, probably some communication tools, information gathering, potentially some of the estimating type stuff as well. I don't really know where it's all going to land at the moment. I think we're just still going through that new phase. I think this last few years have been a gluttony of all these different packages and softwares from all around the globe. What is nice to see now, there's some great Aussie software and tech partners and businesses kind of going, look, we've seen that work for 5 years, but geez, it's expensive. All of a sudden it's made in Poland or it's an American brand. And a lot of them I've seen at least, and I work with a lot of builders, but it's generally the same. It's been good, but now it's not quite right. And we just need a little bit more. And what we're seeing now is more Aussie business and go, well, actually, I know our industry and we can fill the gap here, and we can take the principles of what's good and make it better. Yep. So I think that there'll be further development and advancements in the tools that we have available.
Is it a matter of getting them to adapt to the industry as it's evolving, you think?
Yeah, look, I think it's both. It's you've got to find stuff that works for you. You've got to find things that are kind of simple and easy. I remember using Data Build and some other things way back on NetSuite, and they're big American, huge products worth tens of thousands a year, and they're accountancy software. But I was running a construction business on it, and it's like I was full on. I wasn't even using 1%.
Yeah, sure.
But you could go and use something quite simple and easy these days. I won't drop names here, but that are probably really relevant to the small to medium builder. If it's just estimating and you get off a spreadsheet, that's good. Or if you can do, some things are really important, like we use a couple of pieces of software that are just for safety, OH&S and safety checks on site. It could be a warranty checklist, or it could be a onboarding or something like that. They're the boring stuff no one wants to talk about. It has to be done, right? Find the piece of software that's cheap, easy, it's tick and flick, but you can apply. You can communicate to your team. You can manage things like warranties and concerns.
I reckon a good rule for buying software is actually, if you can learn to use it reasonably well within the first hour, it's something that's going to work for you.
Yeah, I agree.
If you've got to invest more time than that to get a basic understanding of it, maybe it's not going to work.
I agree. And I just think, so to your point, I think we've had a great kind of few years of good software coming in. Some have been monsters and some are probably underdone. I think these next few years will be those that have been cooked just long enough, and we'll find some really good competitive tools. But I'm also big for delegation, so outsourcing those tasks, especially when it comes to software. Because if software is being used, usually it's not for you. You can learn it, teach it, and move it on, whether it be an offshore team or you're an assistant or someone else in your office, or depending on your business.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, look, one of the things that we're just getting the flag that we're going to be soon doing Under the Hammer. I've just got one question that I want to very quickly ask you. We talked about at the top of this episode, talked about thriving rather than surviving.
Sure.
And just very briefly, what are 3 signs that people listening to this podcast might, 3 red flags that might tell someone that they're in survival mode rather than thrive mode?
At a high level, you can look at the number of leads coming in and conversions, which will equate to a pipeline. If you don't have a solid pipeline that you use, and I know it's a tricky industry at the moment, but pipeline.
That's one.
The biggest one would be cash flow. So if you're really struggling to kind of make ends meet on a project by project or a month by month, or you're paying wages but the 30-day accounts are hard, I think cash flow is a really big one that builders need to do some work around finances on. And look, potentially you could talk of quality and warranty. So if you're getting callbacks or your subbies aren't being managed and you may not have the systems in place to manage your quality, that's been raised a couple of times. So
a warranty scorecard.
Sure, yeah, or a Q&A process even. Are you going to site at the critical times? I send supervisors to check waterproofing. The industry's moving that way because we can't trust the people doing it anyway. It's just the way it is. So what I'm saying there is just you could implement small things there that will stop the red flags coming back. Why am I repairing things again? Why do I have to redo that? With the instructions not good enough. Look, there'd be a lot of things, to be honest.
Oh, absolutely.
Give me 5 minutes we can
yeah.
unpack that. But look, those few, at the moment, the builders I speak to a lot, it's usually lead gen and pipeline work. We're not as busy as we could. We've got gaps. I don't know what to go next. And cash flow is a huge one for many as well.
All right. Thank you.
The time has come.
The time has come.
What's now?
We're going to put you under the hammer. We're going to do 3 rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And you can pick 3 of the 5. You're going to pick it up and you're going to answer it as best as you can and as quickly as you can.
Okay. Well, what are the 3 words that define your journey? 3 words. It's hard to go with 3 words. Self-development. We'll call that as 1. Commitment and courage.
Awesome. Okay, next hammer.
Not always easy, but
No.
and that's what comes to mind.
That's what
comes to
compress
mind.
that into 3. That's good.
Yeah, that's what comes to mind. That's a tricky one to do in 3 words. Who is your favourite podcast host? No, just joking. That's not it at all. How do you guys blow off steam? Me personally, and especially last year, I just made a very conscious decision of putting my personal values ahead of a lot of other things. And so that, to me now, today is adventure. So it's travel. It's experiencing things with my family, my kids. So I travel a lot. Adventure and freedom is big on my core values. So that's kind of how I blow off steam.
Awesome.
When possible. What makes you made to build? And why are you made to build? Look, I think I still laugh, and sometimes when I'm asked about how did you get in the industry and what do you do, and I still laugh and say to some people, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. Because here I am, 25 years into a career and seem to have done okay, and now kind of, am a leader, I guess, in this industry. So I think what's made me stick at it is passion, I really give a shit about the people I work with, the product I deliver. I love the fact I'm genuine. I haven't been on the tools in years, but I'm very good at what I do. I still do things around for myself, but just not for clients. So I think being passionate about something so you can back yourself is really a big commitment to be able to deliver upon something, not just faking it till you make it, like really caring. And if you're not good enough, try harder and do it again and practice. And I think also, especially in today's industry, I think I'm a very unique builder. I think I'm a very unique character in this industry where I bring a lot of different perspectives and experiences to my client's journey. And I know we deliver great value and I think we're very unique. I sometimes say we're a bit of a unicorn in our space. Yep. So I think that I feel obliged to serve my clients and my community, my industry. I feel obliged because it's not full of great people. And so we need more great people, I guess. I'm not saying there's bad people, but we need more great people. I believe we are a team of them. And so I want to make sure we keep showing up.
Awesome.
You touched on something before in being self-development. Now, typically when builders enter the industry at a younger age, they just put their head down, bum up, and they just go hell for leather. Can you speak to the younger generation and stress the importance of self-development? Yeah,
absolutely. Can't believe you said younger generation. I still think I'm young, but I'm probably not these days. Look, it's just, I guess what I can say is it's been a huge part of my success and my journey is just knowing that I felt that I was destined for greater. Sounds a bit corny, but it just meant that I knew that I wasn't getting all the right advice. I wasn't getting all of the knowledge where I was on the path I was on. So I started seeking it, if that made sense. So seeking it about myself, seeking it about education, seeking it about schooling, seeking it about my trade, my craft. And so my feedback to anyone listening, regardless of age, is really about, challenge yourself and is this as good as it gets? Do you want to be better at your skill, at your trade, a better leader, a better husband, a better business owner? Do you want to be out of your business? Every one of those options are going to take a bit of hard work, investigation and searching to be better. And so
really self-reflect, you think?
I think awareness, it's where it starts, right? I don't claim to be the best at anything, to be honest. And even now I still pay 50 to 60 grand a year on mentorships and mastermind groups myself. That's not to show off. It's just because I'm a lifelong student. And
but you value the input.
So that's the point. Thank you for answering for me. I suggest people learn to value ongoing education.
Yep.
And by doing that, it does start shifting the needle in different areas of your life. And so you can have a better life, a better business, a better relationship if you do the work.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Hopefully that's...
So, Ryan, thank you for coming on and sharing with some real knowledge about.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, made to build. It's good to have you on. How can people reach out to you if they want to get in touch?
Yeah, great. Would love them to. Personal website is ryangoodwin.com.au. There's some free resources if anyone wants some downloadables or whatever that might be. Also, our building group is modegroup.com.au.
That's awesome. Good on you.
Thank you for coming on today. And to our listeners, if you want to stay updated every fortnight, follow at HIA_AU on Instagram. Have you done it? Okay, good. Tune in every week because knowledge is power and occasionally you might learn something and sound smart. Thank you.